Welcome to the Maritime Vision podcast. I'm your host, Paul Wioli. In each episode, we bring you exclusive interviews with maritime professionals, industry experts, and students. Our guests come from different backgrounds, including shipping, yachting, offshore, supply chain, and more. Our goal is to give you all the knowledge you need to succeed in the maritime industry. Hello everyone, welcome back to a new podcast episode. And today we are joined by Vivian van der Kuil. I hope I pronounced it a good way, her name. Great. So today we're going to talk about maritime law. Vivian is a maritime lawyer, a lot of experience in this field, by the way. So maybe can you introduce yourself, please?
Well, that's putting me out there. Thank you. My name is Vivian van der Kuil. I'm a maritime lawyer, so that means I'm a lawyer and I deal with everything that involves ships, let's say. And I think along the way, I'll introduce myself a bit more.
Perfect. So maybe can you provide a little overview of what is maritime law, and especially to be a maritime lawyer? What is involved? What kind of specialties we have in this field?
Well, sometimes I try to explain this to other people, whether maritime law is actually kind of like a specialism. And maybe it actually isn't, because it just involves, different aspects of the law. And like I said, there's always a ship involved when you look at my job. So this can be either advising on a shipbuilding contract. It can be being involved in casualties like wreck removal or a collision case, and dealing with the liability thereafter and all the damage involved. But there are also maritime lawyers who deal with yachting cases or deal with cargo-related issues. So I think within the maritime law community, everyone has this different specialism. Some lawyers also deal with other modes of transport like road or air. I myself only deal with ships.
Okay, great. Maritime lawyer is in a niche, basically. But in maritime law, we have sub-niche. So that's why it's very hard to...
Yeah, some people only deal with financing for shipbuilding or buying, selling ships, things like that. So within this specialism, maritime law, if it is a specialism, you have sub-specialisms also. And to be honest, you need to know a lot of law in general to deal with maritime law, because like a contract, it's just like contract law. Or it's also company law, because sometimes you have to deal with stocks and directors, liabilities and things like that. So everything that is involved in general in law, sometimes also you have to deal with it in maritime law.
Okay.
But in general, to say it concerns civil law, so what we in the Netherlands or in Europe call civil law, so that's things like contract law and property law. So not as much administrative law, so that's dealing with the government when you want to buy a house or renovate your house, and not as much criminal law, but sometimes parts of criminal law. Because when there's a collision case, and there's of course the civil liability for the damage, but sometimes the government or the public prosecutor also decides to have a criminal case about it. So because the shipper did something wrong, or the captain did something wrong.
Well, for example, with the Costa Concordia, I imagine it was quite criminal in a way. So Interesting. Can you talk about your specialty? What are you dealing with? The kind of cases you are dealing with in your daily basis?
Yeah. Well, what I like to deal with, but you can't order it on demand, are the maritime casualties.
Yeah.
They just happen, and that's what I like best. It's a bit, of course, strange to say that I like a good casualty, but I do like a good casualty.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, and then within that, I like the limitation of liability, which is really a specialism within the specialism. So, how to deal with a big collision case and the liability and damage. You can do that by issuing a fund to limit your liability. And that's based on a convention and all the things that to have to deal with that. I like that very much.
Okay, quite interesting. Yeah. So can you maybe talk about, we can say, what kind of challenges we have as a maritime lawyer? To start a pessimistic approach, then we'll be optimistic.
I think, challenges is what I like in my work. Okay. I think if you don't like challenges, don't become a maritime lawyer. When you first want to become a maritime lawyer and you want to make a name in the industry, I think that is the biggest challenge there is to find a place where you want to work, to get people to know you, and that they call you when there is a maritime casualty. So that is a challenge. You have to make a name in the industry, and you have to have people have confidence in you. But within the work, there are a lot of dealing with people in a law firm is also a challenge, of course.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, with other partners, and they're all, kind of stubborn people.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, but human relation is quite
they always think they're right. So when you have 20 people together who think they are right,
yes,
something's got to give.
Yes, okay.
So that can be a challenge. But, the challenges of the work,
well, I mean,
it's part of the work.
It's part of the work. In terms of, because we have two kind of maritime lawyer, you have a firm working in a law firm and working in-house.
Well, I think, I think you have even more, because the people who study law or maritime law, because here in Rotterdam at the Erasmus University, you have a master, maritime and transport law. So the people who have followed that master end up in all kind of places. So you can be an in-house lawyer for a big shipping company, for instance, or companies like Boskalis or Van Oort or dredging. They have a lot of in-house lawyers. You can be a lawyer in private practice, like me. You can work for an insurance company as a claims handler. You can work with an insurance broker. You can buy and sell ships. You can be a public prosecutor or a judge. So there are all areas of the industry where you can end up.
Okay. On what kind of, for someone who are quite lost, I don't know if I want to start in a law firm or is in-house or shipping companies, what kind of advices can you give, depending the personality, maybe, the mission you have?
When people really don't know, I always say, if you really are determined to become a lawyer like me in private practice, then I say, go for it. If you want to that and you know for sure, then go for it. See if you can find a law firm that fits your personality and where you like the atmosphere, because that's very important. But if you don't know for sure yet which part of the industry you would like to work, then I say starting as a claims handler at an insurance company, for instance, that's a great first job, because you get to know the industry and you learn a lot about how insurance and shipping works and which parties are involved, and things they don't tell you at the hogeschool or the university.
For sure. Quite interesting. So claims handler, can you explain a little bit what is it? Because for some people it's quite a not common term.
Claims handler at an insurance company. Well, in shipping, when you take out insurance for your car, you have the insurance you have to take based on the law. That's if you cause an accident and someone else has damage.
Yes.
You have to have insurance to pay the damage of the other party, but you can also have insurance for your own car, and you can have insurance for legal aid instead you have a conflict. Well, for shipping, we have the same type of insurance, but it's separate. You have hull and machinery, that's for the ship itself if it gets damaged. And you have P&I insurance, that's protection and indemnity. And that's for the damage of the other party. Well, it's a bit more complicated than that. In general,
yes.
So your liability insurance and your H&M, and it's different. So you can work with a P&I club, and there are a lot of P&I clubs in the world, but we have a group, the P&I group, that are the biggest ones, like Skuldguard, Swedish Club. And there you deal with claims involving P&I, and at the H&M you deal with claims involving damage to your shipping. And that can be very broad. So everything that happens to the ship, the first people they call, the ship owner or someone on board or the captain, is their insurance broker, and they say, we have a problem. And then the insurance broker calls the insurance and, we have a problem.
Okay, great.
And as a claims handler in the insurance company, you just deal with the claim. So you reassure the captain, captain, everything will be okay. Let me see what needs to be done. We have an expert, we call the expert who needs to be involved and go to the ship and assess the damage.
Because it's all about contracts, actually, insurance claims, etc. Because you sign your contract with your insurer and you have some claims and you need to I work as a yacht manager, so for me, I deal a little bit with it, but not deeply. But I can see that it's a big part because claims you have a lot, and sometimes can be very tricky the way of they make it in a way that if you have problem, they cannot insure you.
Well, yachting is a good example because a lot of goes wrong within yachting.
Oh yeah, yeah. At any kind of stuff.
Yeah, things break down.
Yes.
Or you have a damage. There's a small collision when you enter into a port, things like that. So the thing before you call the local authorities to fix it, you first have to call your insurance and see whether it's covered, yes or no, or whether they want to send an expert to assess the damage and then go and have it fixed.
Okay.
So insurance really deals with a lot of the ship's operation also. They are very much involved.
Okay, it's quite interesting. What in terms of skills needed as a maritime lawyer, what kind of specific skills do we need? Soft skills, but as well technical skills.
Yeah, I always say, well, you have to have a lot of skills, and some not typical for a lawyer. Well, let's start out when a lot of people study law who aren't very good at mathematics.
Yeah.
And I always think, you have to be, at the end of the day, you have to be very good at mathematics to really, to understand the law. Really good at, you have to, when you think like a mathematician, you understand the law a bit better because it's very logic and analytic. So you get a lot of information and then you have to find what is most important in all this information and you have to make the logical equation, what the law says about it.
Okay.
But you also have to be very good at language because language is our tool, to talk, but also to write.
To write it.
Yeah, because where you put the comma in what you are writing, it matters in law.
Yes, for sure. People think it's only speaking.
No.
It's writing.
Writing is an understanding the differences between various words and then you have to have like soft skills that when you go somewhere, people immediately trust you or that you have, the sense of environment or that you know how to build trust. Or, sometimes I go somewhere, I don't know any people, but I really have to build the trust because they have to tell me things. Like after a collision case, and then the P&I club says, well, can you go on board the vessel and interview the crew what actually happened when they first come into port? So there you have a captain, sometimes, most of the time, for a country. English isn't our mother language, not for him, not for me. There's a woman sitting at the table with him, and I'm the lawyer. So, from some countries, they are very thinking, I can't trust a lawyer. So you have to be able to build trust
so
like challenges.
Yeah, okay, so part of challenges. So human relation is a big part of maritime lawyer, basically. But it's quite interesting. In terms of technical skills, do you need to know like how ships work, all the aspects? Of course, depending on your specialization, but still.
Well, I think you have to be curious.
Yes.
And when I was a little kid, when I got a toy, I always destroyed it because I wanted to see how it worked. And then I could have put it back together again. But like a curious mind helps. And I always want to know how it works. And if I don't understand, I ask people to explain it again to me. So, and then I say, I need to be able to explain it to the judge when it is a court case. So try to explain it then in a different way how this motor works. I'm a bit technical and curious by nature.
Okay. But in your daily basis, I mean, if you have some cases, do you need to know, for example, specific part of the ships or ships work?
I know maritime lawyers who hardly ever go on ships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
And it doesn't matter because they have that curious mind. But I myself, I was on ship myself, and it does help. So it helps in the building trust. That people on board the crew know that I know what it's all about.
Thank you.
I can distinguish port from starboard. For me it helps, but I think I'm one of the few maritime lawyers who actually been to sea herself.
I didn't see a lot, to be honest. No, and I'm looking out for LinkedIn.
It was a bit more tradition. We had older generation when I started out as a maritime lawyer. That were people that actually were on ships, and after a couple of years they studied law and then went into maritime law.
Okay.
but it's not that common anymore.
It's not common enough.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Can you guide us? I didn't provide you this question, but the process. For example, you have an accident, a ship collision. What is the full process? How it works? First of all, the captain contact. How it works? I mean, because
Well, if there's a big collision case, people know immediately afterwards. But the captain calls his agent wherever it is, or the captain calls the shipping company he works for, and the shipping company or the agent calls the insurance company, and the insurance company call their local correspondent if it's somewhere in a foreign port. Or the local correspondent or the insurance company appoint a lawyer if it's really necessary, if it's a big emergency casualty case. And then, well, the lawyer and insurance company or correspondent claims handler, they start to decide on what is necessary in that matter. Okay. And in very big collision cases, a lot happens in the first 24 hours after a collision case. Because in respect of liability, when the damage is very big, it really makes a difference where the court case or the limitation of liability, if that's at hand, will end up in which court. So big collision cases I was involved in, we sometimes decide within the first 24 hours where it's best to start a court case and if we should take the initiative to start that court case already. Because there are conventions, like I said, about the liability, but there are differences between the countries that are parties to these conventions. And sometimes it really matters where you end up.
Okay, interesting. In every situation, you need a lawyer, or it's sometimes they can deal without?
No, and you don't need a lawyer all the time because, within the insurance companies and the claims handler and the local correspondents, they know a lot already. And if it's not an issue, if parties just accept liability, a lot of things just get handled, between shipper companies or between insurance companies. So
it's only if these agreements, basically, we call a lawyer. Is it true or sometimes?
Well, not as much disagreement, but sometimes it's good to, in advance, call the lawyer because there's so much at stake and you just want to know what your position is.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to end up in court then, but you then think about, we want to know, sometimes also in various countries. So, what's our position in the Netherlands? What's our position in the UK? For instance, for wreck removal claims, it differs worldwide whether you have to pay and what you have to pay for the wreck removal of your ship. So then it's very good to contact various lawyers in different countries and hear the position in that country. So, what will it cost at the end of the day?
Yes,
because as an insurer, it's not just for being cheap, but as an insurance company, of course, definitely P&I clubs, they also have the responsibility to, the money is not endless, they and above a certain amount, they pay for each other.
Yeah, okay, I completely agree. Yeah, so it's quite interesting. Now I want to ask you the question. So we will come back after about more take the skills and the knowledge, basically. But day in the life of a maritime lawyer, of course, it depends. I know this answer. Every time I ask this question, it depends. But I mean, do we have some specific tasks that every lawyer needs to do in comparison with other positions?
Yeah, certainly. Well, when I read this question, I thought, I can just ask, the great thing about maritime law is that you never know what your day will bring. I have a certain task on a list, and each week I hope that I'm able to do these tasks on that list. Yeah, my to-do list, because usually something happens in between, and clients have the tendency to call you very late. So when they call you, then it's usually something that needs to be done within a day or within 2 days.
So it's not an office hour job. I mean, sometimes.
No, it's not an office hour job.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
But the great thing is that it's also an advantage that it's not an office hour. Of course, our junior lawyers, they have an office hour job because we try to protect them as much as possible. But I do a lot of work in the weekend and in the evening. That's also my own choice, because then in the morning I can take a walk with my dog first. I go to the gym and then... So it brings a lot of flexibility. But things you always have to do is send your invoices to the clients. and that's not the best part of the job. But
Yes, sure.
about
money.
yeah, it's about money, and sometimes people don't pay, so you have to chase them.
Do you need to negotiate with the client sometimes about the...
More and more nowadays, and I think that's also a good thing, because old-fashioned lawyers, they just send their bill after months, and they say, "Well,
the price.
pay this." But it's not like that anymore. We now have more negotiation at the beginning of a file sometimes, and we are asked to give an assessment of what it will cost.
Okay, good.
And that's okay, because it forces me also to think about what the value of my work is. So
Yeah, sure.
we can make a deal for I say, well, for a first advice, I think it will be 2,000 or 3,000 euros.
Okay. So now let's talk about career progression, because of course most of my audiences are young people. It's like from 25 to 35 years old. So, what is how it works as a maritime lawyer? You start as a junior, then associate, partner?
Yeah, within our law firm, in a law firm.
Okay,
I would say.
okay.
Yeah. When you want to work as a lawyer in private practice, we're here in the Netherlands, well, you have to have a law degree, of course. And then afterwards, we call it vocational training. It's 3 years long. So you become a lawyer, you are admitted to the Bar Association, but it's only on a temporary basis, so for 3 years. And within these 3 years, you have to finish your training as a lawyer. So you have to go back to school for 1 day a week and train, lawyer skills. It's also content, but also learning how to write procedural documents and things like that. And you train within the firm. So you have we call it a patron, and he monitors your education. And after 3 years, he has to declare, or he or she, with the Bar Association, that you're fit for the job, or that you can take on the responsibility. And then you are a lawyer finally, and you're admitted to the bar definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And then within the firm, you start as what we call advocaat stagiaire. Translates as
intern.
But it's
lawyer.
3 years. So
It's traineeship maybe.
Yeah, the traineeship.
Traineeship.
Yeah. So lawyer trainee, and that's for 3 years. So as long as the vocational training is, and then after that you become medewerker, so associate. And then it depends on the company. Some have junior associates, senior associates. We have that. So after a couple of years, you can become senior associate. And then the question is if you want to become partner, yes or no.
So what is partner? Because this term is...
It also depends, because in some companies you are shareholder of the company if the organization is that there are shareholders. Sometimes you have your own company and there's a corporation of companies, but and you have salary partners, associate partners, you have councils. So there are very different names for this more senior level. But in general, when you are a partner, you also decide on the future of the firm and all the managerial stuff that goes on.
Okay.
And usually it also involves entrepreneurship. So you have your own company within the company. You are supposed to attract clients and attract new business and have a business plan.
So you need the business side as well.
Yeah, you are involved with all the finance.
You need to bring the business.
You are involved with all the financial stuff within the company.
Okay, interesting. So my question is when are you facing the client? Because as a junior, I don't think you face the client.
Yes, you are. It depends on the company. Yeah. And it depends on the law firm. And that's why it's so important to, before you want to start working in the law firm, to really check out how they deal with things like this, how the atmosphere is. And here we want to get lawyers involved as soon as possible. So even our interns, so people who are here for a month or 3 months, get the possibility to go to court hearings and to go to meetings with clients, and because we feel, and I feel, it's really important to start the job immediately and to see what it's all about and to be involved in the case, not just write memos. Sometimes in bigger law firms, in some departments, lawyers only write memos the first few years, don't see any clients. And here you're really hands-on, directly involved with the case.
Okay. Quite clear. Yes.
But not completely on your own. So you.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
That would be a bit much.
Okay, so that's the middle is associate. Associate, are you bringing business as well, or it's more you are?
Yeah, you start doing
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You start building your own clients, and we also stimulate that so that you have people that really call you, because it's also a nice feeling that people call you for help. And not only the partner you work for.
Okay. So this is more in law firm, this system. What about private, in a private company, in-house company? We don't have this term.
It depends on what kind of company you work in. I think when you work with a really big company, you have a team of lawyers working there. So the chances are that you first, have the kind of like the memo work also to do. But when you're starting in a company where you're the only legal counsel, from day one, you're really involved in everything.
Okay.
So it depends on what you like yourself as well. Do you want to start out working in a team? Do you like working in a team, or do you like to work independently? Do you like to do different things all the time? Then when you're the only general counsel, that's perfect, because you get labor law, trade law, you get everything.
Okay, perfect, nice. And I wanted to ask you now, there's another topic, which is remuneration. People want to know about it, how it works. Are you starting like with fixed salary, and then you don't have commission in law? I think you're in a good position to talk about it.
Well, I don't know within companies, of course, that they how they pay. But within law firms, each law firm has its fixed salary system or house, or what they call it. And they also have a system that if you function quite well, you get a bonus at the end of the year. So, and the further you get in your career, the more it depends on the value you put out. So in the first couple of years, it's just for showing up and making the hours, because we have billable hours and you're accountable for that. So they look at how many billable hours you have played. And more you get involved in the company itself, how much business you bring in, and you get a remuneration for that as well.
Okay.
Because when you are a partner, your salary is not fixed anymore. It depends on the work you've done. So you get an amount of all the profit the company has made.
Okay. So if you need to, depending on what the amount of business you bring, customer. Okay.
Yeah.
And about associate, it's like a mix of both, or?
Well, it depends on the company, but in most law firms you have fixed salary until you become a partner, but your bonus at the end of the year may vary. It may depend on business you have brought in, yes or no.
Okay, it's good.
So the plus that varies, but and the fixed salary, well, there is a minimum set by the Bar Association. Go below that as a trainee, but above that, anything goes. When you go to the big law firms.
So can you make for very people who like focus on career can you build very big career and make a lot of money if to be completely direct?
Well, when you start working for a very big law firm, at the end of the day, when you end up a partner, you can have a very, very decent remuneration.
Okay, because I talked with a maritime lawyer. He said to me, if you really want to be focused on money, you need to be a corporate.
True.
On maritime.
That's true. But if a big law firm would have maritime law within their department, you can have a decent, but what is decent,
Yeah.
You talk about millions, or are we talking about 100,000 or 2,000?
But I mean, everything is possible. I imagine there is no.
Yeah, but it's true that if you really want to go for the big money, corporate law is the way to go. Because, I also deal with very small cases, with small claims, and it's just not, the money is, there are small corporations. So it's not where the big money is.
Okay. So, but still, in the maritime sector, we can still, if we are good at it, we can earn a lot.
Yeah, you can have a decent remuneration, I would say. Yeah.
I just ask you this question because if you had to ask.
If you really want to get rich and never worry about money anymore, well, I think you have to start your own company. I think
of course, yeah.
I think that's maybe the best way to earn money or to get rich. But you have to take the risk as well. You have to be able to do that.
Of course. I mean, the speech is always the same. Okay, now let's talk about academic background.
Okay.
So if you want to become a maritime lawyer or even a lawyer, but more specifically maritime, what kind of educational background do you need? Master, bachelor?
Well, I'm connected to the Erasmus University, so I should say you should go for the transfer law master. But to be honest, that is not necessary. Most of the maritime lawyers I know have not followed that master, and that's definitely okay. I did not follow the master. I studied public law at Utrecht University, so something completely different, where there's a bit law of the sea. But any master in like civil law, contract law, property law, things like that, it's all perfect.
On master is the requirement.
Yeah.
I mean, bachelor is not enough.
No.
Okay.
It's just not enough.
But master.
When you want to be a lawyer in private practice, when you want to work as a lawyer within an insurance company, that's maybe something different. I think a bachelor would be enough.
Okay. So basically, if you want to specialize yourself, do you need to start like a general bachelor, like law, something very general, and then specialize yourself during the master, like energy, maritime, transportation?
It's all okay, because the majority of the knowledge you will gain during the job itself. So I think it's more important that you have some general subjects within your law master, like property law, like company law maybe, international private law. That's very important because most cases are international. Maybe something to do with conventions or treaties, European law. If there's some transport law involved, that's great, but it's not necessary.
Okay, so in terms of foundation, you need like general foundation. So as you mentioned,
it's like a solid law. Basis, and really the specialty stuff, you can learn that on the job as you.
Okay, or even by reading resources like books, content online. Okay.
Yeah, because the master, when you it just touches on certain subjects, but you're not the expert then.
Okay, perfect, great. In terms of, I will say like anecdotes. Do you have anecdotes to share during your career, like some funny story or sad, or I don't know, some?
Yeah, well, I have funny and sad stories. The sad story is that I was involved in a collision case, the Baltic Ace in the Corvair, and we were representing the Baltic Ace, and it was a big car carrier in 2012 called Sinterklaasavond. It sank up the coast in Zeeland. And I went there the next morning to talk to the crew that was still there, because 11 people were lost and eventually diseased also. And so I spoke with the captain, and it still gives me the chills to remember that, to talk to a captain who has just lost 11 of his crew members.
Yeah. Okay.
And then you think, well, dealing with casualties is one thing, and liability and damage, but that's the same. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were then figuring out with the divers from the Navy where they last saw these crew members, if they could find them still, because they could be in an air bubble or something. And so, that was something. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine.
So that's the sadder story, and the funny stories are always when I go out and visit ships, and one time I was on a ship for a whole day, and then in the Tweede Maasvlakte, the port area, and usually you can't go there by car. So, but I get permission to drive there with my car to the ship, and then I'm like a little child. I'm like very happy that I can park my car next to the big ship.
Oh yes,
and I take pictures with my helmet on. But one time, so it was very late, I had to drive back, but I couldn't find the exit anymore. And I was very confident, like, no, because I think, I'm a girl and I don't want to be told where to go. I said, no, I'll manage it. But I was completely lost at that port area site with all the lights.
Yeah, it's very hard to...
cranes, and... all the signs are like very high up, not for cars. So I found the exit, but I was driving that 40 minutes or so.
Well, but at least you visit the port.
Yeah. But always things like that happen to me, and there I go again. Yeah.
That's fine. That's good. Yes, the Port of Rotterdam is huge, by the way. Okay. Now I want to ask you more about career advices you can give for young people. But I mean, young lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of advices can you give them to be successful in maritime law?
I have thought about this question, and I think about it quite often because I get asked this question on many occasions. And I think being curious, if you really want to start out in the maritime industry, being curious helps, and to show interest to people. So if you think you want to work there, just give people a call, that work there, and say, hey, I'm very interested in your job, and do you maybe have some time to tell me all about it? So don't start by saying, give me a job, but just show interest, and people won't refuse that, if you give them a call, don't send them an email, give them a call and say, hey, I saw your position. I'm very interested in your career. And can you tell me how you ended up where you ended up? Do you have some advice for me? Or do you have some advice who I should talk to, who I should meet? And just go for the personal contact. And along the way, you will meet people and opportunity will present themselves. If you are curious and you are interested, and yeah,
nice, perseverant as well.
Yeah, of course, but it will not happen overnight.
Okay.
Just look around.
Okay. And for the ones who are looking for a job and they are quite desperate about it because they don't find the job now, but they're still doing effort about it.
Build your network. Yeah. It's all about meeting the right people. Give them then the chance to get to know you, not just from a letter, but who you are personally. So when you go for a job interview and you get a rejection, give them a call and say, hey, I got rejected. I understand, but I want to understand why.
Right.
And can you maybe give me some advice for my next application? Or
that's good.
What have I done wrong? Or what can I do better?
Yes, quite hard. Get feedback.
Yeah, and maybe I'm not. I know it's hard to do it, and to make that phone call.
Yeah,
but do
it. Phone call. Yeah.
Yeah, but do it. But do it. Yeah, you have to go out your comfort zone.
Okay, it's quite interesting. Yeah. Okay, I think we cover a lot of topics. Yeah, I shouldn't be a lawyer to ask you the best questions, but if you have you want to add something, do not hesitate. Feel free. But in my side, I ask you all the questions.
Well, I think it's just it's an amazing job and an amazing industry to work in. The people are lovely. They're very hands-on. It's always about practical issues you are dealing with, and this area of the law is a bit undiscovered. So you have to be creative. Also, I always thought I wasn't creative, but the last couple of years I discovered that I'm really actually quite creative. But you always have to think of solutions that aren't there yet.
Okay.
So it's just not about reading books. That's just a starting point. Reading books and the case law, that's the starting point. And then you have to start the work. Okay. You have to come up with something, solve the issue.
Okay, and to solve the issue, you need to find some, of course, to know the law, but looking for resources and try to be tricky.
Sometimes a bit outside the law also, practical, what helps your clients further.
Oh, because sometimes it doesn't have to be low. You need
No.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially when you're a lawyer for a bit longer, people start asking you advice about how to run their company.
Consulting.
Yeah. How to deal with certain issues. So, and you get to meet the nicest people there are.
Yeah.
Some of them really have become friends. So.
Wow, nice. Okay, great. Thank you, Vivian. It was a pleasure to having you in this podcast. I'm sure you helped a lot of people there.
I hope so. Perhaps we need more people.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you again, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you for listening and watching this episode. We are looking forward to bring you more insights from maritime professionals, experts, and students. Do not hesitate to follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Your support means a lot to us and helps us to bring you more content.